Hello, drawing students. Now I'm going to show you your next steps to making drawings from the photographs you've taken into your sketchbook. So if you didn't already use your window to take photographs of things within your home and then traced the window onto your sketchbook page 3 times, you have to go back and do those steps first. If you have done these steps, then you're ready to watch this video. So I'm going to begin. Your photographs in your notability note that you've already added, if you have the midpoint lines visible, it can be helpful to draw them all the way through. So you select your highlighter and make sure the lines are somewhat thin so they don't get in the way of things. And you just connect top to bottom. This line is a little too wide. See how it covers that part of the ear? I want those details. So I'm going to select undo, make my line much thinner. And if I hold my finger down, it will become straight. The line will become straight. And then I'll do the same thing from the left to the right. I hold my finger down, the line will snap straight. And then I'm done. And I have the same lines in my drawing of the window shape on my paper. So now I'm going to draw one shape at a time. Now it's easier if you do this in smaller parts. Like I see some smaller shapes first. I'm going to focus on drawing the negative shape. So in this corner, I see this tiny little shape and I can see that this is less than halfway. So halfway between this point and this point, it's a little lower. So I'm going to draw that in right about there. And I can make a mark here and say, okay, this is halfway and this is less than halfway. I can also switch colors up here and make another mark and say, okay, that's the middle, I think. This is less than halfway. That looks correct. So that's my first shape. My next shape over here, if I'm looking at this box, it goes all the way down and around, another little trapped shape. This one looks a little bit harder. I can cut it in half to make it easier to see. If I do that, I'm going to make another line here. So I'm doing the same thing on my paper. Now, if I look at that, this edge starts over here, and I'm just going to try and copy that shape. And I'm noticing it goes about halfway through. So I said that was the halfway point over there. This might be the halfway point here if I draw it across. Let's see what that looks like. Kind of. It's a little off. I'm going to lower it. So I'm just going to take a guess and say that's a little less than halfway. So if I kind of put a halfway line here, I'm going to guess and say this is a little lower. Now what I am trying to do is record all the little bumps and changes I'm seeing on this body as I draw. Now you don't have to use a person. I'm looking at where this line changes and how far it is from here to here. And this looks like it's a little off. So it tells me I'm gonna have to revise that a little bit. So I'm trying to look at how long is this space right here. I think I'm getting close. I'm gonna go on to the next shape. There's a shape right up here. Now I notice there's a tiny little shape right up in this corner. Tiny, tiny, tiny little one right there. So I'm going to draw that little trapped shape first, and then I'm going to look at the outside edge of the box. Now I think that this point is less than halfway between here and here. So I'm going to connect this down to here. And the next box, this box is almost completely empty except for this little positive space and this little positive space here. So I'm going to do this one first. I notice this comes up and it goes over and it's not very tall. And then there's a really small negative space right here, and that looks like it's about halfway. So I'm going to go in, up, and over. and this shape. Now at the top here, I see another little tiny negative space. And then I know this connects out. Now I'm really looking at the angle of this and how far it sticks out on one end compared to the other. And then the other shape, my last negative shape I have is over here. It's closer to this side. And maybe a little lower. And now I'm going to go to this edge. A couple little bumps. This looks like it's not going to line up. So I'm going to have to rethink this part. I think it might be helpful for me to draw a middle line. Ooh, that is not the center. I'm going to make the line smaller. That's straight. It looks like it's closer to being in the center, but still not quite right. Here, and let's see, go all the way across here. It looks a little closer. So now I'm going to add these two lines to my drawing and see if that helps. It tells me this part is right, but it also tells me this part up here might not be right. So now that my shapes are drawn, I can go back and make changes and revise things, but I've got one drawing done. Check.